Hey Knoxville, I'm Mayor Indya Kincannon, and this is Kicking It with Kincannon. Every month, we'll sit down with community leaders, city staff, and Knoxville neighbors to talk about what's happening in our city, the progress, the challenges, and the people who make it all work. Let's get to it. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Kicking It with Kincannon, our opportunity to highlight some of the great things happening in Knoxville and introduce you to the people who are leading positive changes in our city. So today, I'm glad to be here with Cody Gentry, our Vision Zero coordinator. Cody, how long have you been with the city?
We're coming up on 19 years. We're getting really close to 19 now.
19 years, but we created a brand new position, Vision Zero coordinator, and you applied for that role and took that on starting in 2024. So most people probably don't know what Vision Zero means and what you do every day. So tell us a little bit, what does Vision Zero mean and how do we reach our goals?
Yeah, so Vision Zero, we didn't come up with that name. If we wanted to, we probably could have come up with something a little more intuitive that people would have known what that meant. So I'm the Vision Zero coordinator. Vision Zero is a strategy. It's not just in Knoxville, it's worldwide. It started in Sweden in the 90s and has moved on to a lot of cities in America have pledged a Vision Zero strategy. And what it really is, when you boil it down to the most simple form, we want to eliminate all traffic fatalities on our roadways. Mm-hmm. So the zero in Vision Zero is zero traffic fatalities. And in Knoxville, we have set the goal by 2040 that we want to reach zero traffic fatalities on city-controlled roads by 2040.
And so how's it going? Like, I know we're making progress, but remind me and our listeners of the numbers so far.
Yeah, we are making progress. So I took over this role as the first Vision Zero coordinator.
Yeah, you're our inaugural. You're the George Washington of Vision Zero.
So when I took this role in 2023, those were the most recent numbers we had to work with. And we had 36 total fatalities in 2023. The first year that I was in this role, we lowered that down to 32. Mm-hmm. So we're heading in the right direction. Okay. And then this year so far, we're, knock on wood, we're trending in the right direction. We're at this point around 50% less than we were this same time last year. So all things looking good. I always like to point out that while those numbers are trending in the right direction, this isn't, vision towards zero. Right. So this is, even if, in 2026, we had one person die on our roadways, that's still one person too many. So absolutely, I always like to point out we're heading in the right direction, but the work's not done until we reach that zero.
Right. And sometimes when I'm talking about public safety, we talk about crime fighting and reducing violence in our city, and that's obviously super important. We're making great progress. I had Chief Noel on a couple episodes ago, but thankfully, violent crime is very rare in Knoxville. But when I'm in a crowded room and I ask if anybody has a friend or family member who they've experienced a serious injury or fatality in a car crash, almost everybody raises their hands. It's all too common, and it's not just in Knoxville. But tell us a little bit about when you talk to people about this out in our neighborhoods. What are their concerns and what are their ideas, and how do we channel? Sometimes the people closest to the problem have some of the best solutions. So how do we tap into that neighborhood wisdom to save lives in Knoxville?
Yeah, I mean, you touched on something I always like when I'm talking to neighborhoods. That's something that really brings it home, is you ask that question: how many people in this room know somebody that it might be a family member, a coworker, friend? How many of you know somebody that has died or been seriously injured in a crash? Pretty much every time you're going to get everybody in the room raising their hand. It's something that affects the majority of people, but for some reason we have just kind of accepted that was okay.
I know, it's sort of crazy.
I don't understand how that happened, but I like to always point out to neighbors or groups that if this were any other thing, if we said, well, there were 32 Knoxvillians that died in a plane crash this year, that wouldn't be acceptable.
Yeah, we'd be outraged and
exactly.
We have a sense of urgency.
Yeah, exactly. We need to really look at this, see what's the problem. We got to find a fix to this.
But that's what Vision Zero is. It adds a sense of urgency and just reframes it. Like this is not something that we should just accept as a cost of living in our city.
Right.
And that's, to me, what the basic thing is. You should be able to move around Knoxville, whether you're walking, waiting for the bus, biking, in a car, in a truck, without fear of serious injury or fatal incident.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we have our work cut out for us. And, we have a lot of people traveling through our city who maybe are not taking care to slow down and so forth. So, but I'm really pleased with the fact that we have a dedicated person who's thinking about this all day, every day. Of course, the city, you were in the, part of the transportation engineering department, and this is still under transportation engineering, but it was a lot of people were focused on this, but it was only a fraction of their job. And now this is what you wake up thinking about.
Exactly.
And trying to come up with solutions for every single day. So
safety is my, primary focus in everything. It's job number one. It is, really shifting the priorities to making sure everybody, it's safety, safety, safety. It's not safety second or third. It is
right.
That question has to be answered first. Yeah. Is this making things safer? If that answer is no, then we don't need to be doing that.
Right. Yeah. I love it. And from what I understand, speed is usually one of the most significant factors. And I want to share this, just a funny anecdote. My husband now has a hybrid car, and it shows like how he's saving energy by, going slowly and so forth. So he's like the pokey little puppy driving around the city now. And inevitably, cars will zoom past him, and then we catch up. We always catch up. The speeding adds to the danger, but doesn't actually help you get any place faster. So that's a good reminder to me that speed is, to be avoided. Stay under the speed limit is always a good thing, and you don't arrive any later.
Right. And that's really when I talk to neighbors and I go to these neighborhood meetings, that's pretty universal when I'm talking to them. What problems are you seeing in your neighborhood? What do you want to see change? It's pretty universal, both on neighborhood streets in their neighborhood, residential streets, but also on the more major streets, the commercial areas. It's speed everywhere. People just drive too fast. They're driving distracted, all of these things. It doesn't matter where you're at in the city. That's something I just hear from all of these different groups across the city.
Well, one of the things that I really like that you have done as our Vision Zero coordinator is, first of all, you're an amazing communicator, and you really are good at responding to people either, in person, by phone, or by email. And also we have some long-term infrastructure plans, but what our Vision Zero, one of my favorite things about Vision Zero, sometimes we have these quick builds. Yeah. And, both of our daughters are West High grads, and they were very upset, as was I, when I heard about a student a couple years ago who got hit by a car as she was crossing Sutherland to get to school. She was in a crosswalk. Yep. She was doing nothing wrong. Right. And we could have been like, well, we need to do a road diet. We need to have, just a, new traffic light, whatever. But those would have taken a lot of money and a lot of years. So what did we do? What is a quick build? And give us that example of how it worked at West High.
Yeah, I'm like you. I love quick builds. I want to do as many of those as possible. When we look at these problems, like the one at West High School, we had a problem identified. Any crash like that happens, that's identifying a problem. Something's not working here. So when we go and look at what happened, and then you start looking at potential fixes for that, these construction projects take longer than the two of us would like.
I know.
Years and years can go on before these actually hit the ground. And we don't have years and years. Right. We have a problem now, and we need to fix it now. So when we look at these quick build projects, we kind of say, okay, if we wanted to rebuild this and fix it, what would we do? Okay, well, what can we do? How can we achieve that now? I recently watched, you remember the movie Apollo 13?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I recently watched that movie.
Houston, we have a problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a part of that movie that really stuck with me when they're in the space shuttle. Spoiler for anybody that doesn't want to be spoiled by a 30-year-old movie
Is it that
based
old?
on historical facts. But so things don't go well when they're in space. And part part of the ship breaks and they're in Houston trying to figure out, okay, how can we make this work? And they dump out on the table this collection of stuff. Here's everything they have available on the spaceship. And we need to get this round filter to fit in this square hole. And they have this problem. And here's what we have to work with. That's how I think that's a good way to look at Vision Zero and these problems. It's like, okay, here's what we have to work with. Think outside of the box. Think outside of how we've always done it and say, all right, well, here's what we have available. How can we put something together to fix this, get it done as quick as possible rather than have this 5, 6, 7 year long project. It might not be perfect.
We can do both and.
Exactly. You never want it, what's the saying? You never want great to be
perfect
the enemy
to
of
be
good.
the enemy of good, right?
Yeah. So that's really kind of the motto of these quick build projects.
And also people who are hurting, they have a friend who was injured. They want to see the city respond as quickly as possible. And, so the quick build at West High is one great example where we put in some things to make the turning radius sharper.
Correct.
I know there was someone crossing over near near Whittle Springs Elementary School and those towers over there, and we added a crosswalk and some other things. So that's something we can do in a matter of weeks and a couple $1,000s.
Exactly.
So more like that. Are we going to see more like that?
That's the plan. Yeah, we have a lot in the works. It's a struggle for me to have an attention span for those long construction projects that drag on so long. So I like these quick builds that I'm able to dive in, get a fix, have that done in a month and move on.
Even though the quick builds are more affordable than big infrastructure projects, they do take money.
They do.
So I'm really hopeful that the sales tax referendum is approved by city voters, because I think I know it contains some more resources for Vision Zero. So tell us a little bit about how that would help us make things safer in Knoxville.
It would absolutely. I mean, it would be really game changing for the Vision Zero strategy. I think we would be able to do a lot more of those quick builds. Like you said, they do cost money, but also those quick build projects aren't meant to be there forever. They're kind of built out of temporary materials. They're, in their nature, they're not meant to be there for decades. So we can learn from those quick build projects, and it can kind of inform the permanent change that we need to see. So, if we have this influx of new money, that could change a lot of these quick build projects into
more permanent
build
solutions.
projects.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a very worthwhile investment, making our neighborhood safer, and I hope the city voters agree. One thing that I'm really impressed with is I know you were in engineering department, and you still are, but you're not an engineer by training.
I am not, no.
And one thing that Vision Zero contemplates and takes into account, unlike sometimes engineers are like, okay, the numbers say this, and this degree of this culvert, this bridge should be built just like that with this amount of precision. But guess what isn't precise or predictable? Human beings.
Correct.
And guess who's driving, walking, biking our city? It's all people. And so talk to us a little bit about how your background helps you understand the fallibility of people, and that we can design our city to take that into account to make us a little safer.
Yeah. I'm not an engineer. I've never taken a single engineering class.
Yeah.
Don't necessarily care for math or anything like that. I have a sociology background, and that's sort of how I look at engineering, kind of through that lens. Especially transportation engineering, unlike any other form of engineering. Like you said, it really deals with that human behavior element. You can install a culvert that's 10 times bigger than what you need. It doesn't mean it's suddenly going to rain more at that spot to fill that culvert. It's going to rain what it rains, whether there's no culvert there, whether there's a huge culvert there. But transportation is a lot different. And what we build and how we build it has a direct impact on how people use it, speed, how comfortable they feel driving, how comfortable you feel walking, the safety that is baked into all of these roadways. That has a direct correlation with how the road is designed. So I think looking at these things through a sociological lens and really, okay, how do people use it? Talking to people in the area what works for this area, what doesn't work, what do you like about these streets, what do you need to see change to make you, feel safer and feel like you can move around a lot freer. Taking that in and hearing and observing, there's a lot of sociologists that have looked at, public spaces and how people use them and how they feel comfortable using them. And I think that's a really interesting way to look at it. And you learn so much about what people want and how they use things and how we can make their spaces work better for them.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, I know you have an initiative coming up to sort of amplify the safety at West High as one example, where it's not all just engineering and putting in, traffic things, but it can be a little fun, a little art, aesthetically pleasing. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So at the project at West High School, we've made it safer. That was job number one. We did that. But there's Jeff Speck wrote a book called Walkable Cities several years ago. And one of the things he really talks about is, you want a place to be walkable and safe, but you also want it to be somewhere you want to be. So make it an interesting place to be. So that's kind of what we're going to move towards now at West High School and make it a more visually interesting and engaging place. So we're working with the renowned art department at West High School. They have a fantastic art group there. We're working with them and the Public Arts Committee to come up with a mural for this area that's now curbed off and removed from traffic. So coming up with a mural to kind of beautify the area and really engaging with the students there at the high school so that they have the design kind of within their own
and
group.
a sense of ownership.
Exactly.
That's wonderful. So, we've been talking about your work life a little bit, but hopefully you have some time outside of work to enjoy our city. So where are some of the favorite things you like to do or visit or places? How do you get around when you're traveling in Knoxville?
Yeah. I think our downtown is so wonderful because it is pretty compact. We have the river and the interstate kind of compact things to our downtown. And you can walk pretty easily from one end of downtown all the way down to the old city in a pretty short amount of time. So I think it's great to be able just to come downtown, park, cover all the ground you want pretty easily, pretty quickly. I love to spend time in the old city. The Pilot Light is
I've run into you down there a couple times.
My favorite place in the city. I love the Pilot Light so much. They just celebrated their 25th anniversary. So many weekend nights you might catch me there. I encourage anybody, check it out, and you'll see music you maybe never have heard of before, but it's always a great time.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a question I've been asking everybody who's been on Kickin It with Kincannon, so I'll ask you too. If you were mayor for the day, how would you choose to spend your time in that day?
Well, I kind of touched on earlier how long these construction projects take. So if I'm mayor for a day, I think we're suspending reality already. So
I don't get to do that. Last I checked, but I would do that too if I could. But okay, no reality.
You went through the real process to become mayor. I didn't in this theoretical world. So I'm going to keep waving that magic wand.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's a thing when you're supposed to ask the genie for more wishes first, if I'm supposed to ask for more time as the mayor.
Well, just suspend all reality.
Okay. Yeah. I don't want more time as the mayor. I do not want your job. I'll say that first and foremost. And I don't think people would want me to be mayor for a long period of time. But, I think you start looking at some of these roadway projects. I know they take a long time, but if we're sort of suspending reality, I think we have a handful of corridors in the city that need some love. I think first ones that come to mind for me are, Merchants Drive. We have some issues up there. So I think I would get the ball rolling on some fixes up there, kind of near the Walker Springs Walmart area. So Gallagher View, Walker Springs, that whole area, I think could use a little love out there and kind of make some improvements out there. So I'd really get the ball rolling on some of those projects.
Do it all in 24 hours.
That's right. Yeah.
You'd be a very popular mayor if you could make that happen. Yeah. So, well, Cody, what do you have any books or podcasts that you could recommend to me and our listeners?
I'm currently reading, it's not Vision Zero related at all.
That's
I can't live in that world forever. I'm currently reading Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. It's fantastic
that's a good
so
one.
far.
And it mentions Knoxville.
It does. They just left Knoxville. I just started not too long ago, but they mentions Knoxville. So far so good. I've been into that. A little more Vision Zero centric. I highly recommend Wes Marshall's book, Killed by a Traffic Engineer. It's a salacious title, but he is a transportation engineer by trade that really kind of looks at it the way that I've talked about and kind of zooms out and says, well, maybe this is why we've always done it this way, but why do we do it that way? And maybe is that the best way? So that's a great book. I really recommend. All right. Also, I think the two of us have maybe listened to the 99% Invisible podcast on
and
Power,
the Power Broker. Yeah.
That was the only way I was able to get through the Power Broker. Yeah. It's a great achievement of mine that I made it through that. But
I just listened to the podcast version of it.
I used it as a
really
Cliff Notes and guide to help me get through because there are only so many times I can read 20 pages at a time.
He's one of those guys, he started off doing a lot of good and then got a little out of control.
Robert Moses built a lot of great parks in New York and then kind of descended into
more destructive tendencies. Yeah. Well, Cody, I think we made a great decision creating this position, and you're the perfect person to fill this role for Knoxville. You're off to a great start, and I know there's more positive things happen as we get to 0 deaths by 2040 on city streets. So thank you for all your hard work. Thanks for being on Kickin' It with Kincannon, and we look forward to continued progress.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thanks for kicking it with me today. If you like this episode, share it with a friend and make sure to follow Kickin' It with Kincannon wherever you listen to podcasts. For more updates, visit KnoxvilleTN.gov or follow us on social. Until next time, take care, Knoxville.